Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Friends Talking Nerdy. This is Tim Jousma, and joining me for the fourth time live since we have reconnected thanks to the pandemic, the Reverend Tracy is here in the building. How you doing?
Yay, I made it. My plane, no hijinks or hijacks. I landed and everything is fine. No, I mean, just being an anxious traveler, that totally ran through my head. Like always, there's always, and it wasn't like anybody specific. It was just, I get that thought of, yep, this will be how I go. But nope, lo and behold, I landed safe and sound as I usually do and not let the anxiety gremlin take over my world and talk me into never flying again. So, but yeah, it's been interesting being back, which I'm sure as we play our game here, I will end up going into more as we banter about. But so how are you? Did the world shift when I landed? Did you feel anything spectacular? Like you knew awesomeness had arrived near your door again?
Not quite that.
Can you tell I'm just excited to be around humans again? Like mostly because like I didn't have like a full-time job or anything. So this is the most I've been around people really since the move. I mean, I've hung out with people in Maine. Don't get me wrong. I'm not that lonely. But yeah, it's been cool being out and in the world again as much as it has changed in downtown.
Yes, yeah, as you were mentioning, it is definitely a lot dirtier there.
It is. The houselessness is definitely different than when I used to hang out in downtown in, I would say, the prime of Portland times, really. You know, because I started working in downtown Portland like in 2015, and then 2016 was still great, and I used to walk and get all the food everywhere, and now it's like, oh, there's no way. I don't feel as comfortable walking around as I used to, for sure. The years that I lived here and walked downtown normally, I can maybe once or twice think of a time that I had like a verbally aggressive houseless person like verbally come at me, and that happened like immediately today. So it was like one of my first experiences like walking through downtown. It was a one of those "hey, I'm talking to you" like tones. So I'm like, oh, okay, well I'm gonna go be up there by the people on the next corner. You know, I still tried to treat him like a human, but definitely picked up pace. But then on the same time, like I had told you when I first came in, really cool other human, you know, asked for some change. I apologized because I never have change. And nope, they were cool about it. Had a little 5-minute friend conversation and made it here fine. So that's still there, right? Like there's still human beings just kind of trying to live their life as best as they can. But there does seem to be more, I guess, of that aggressive demographic that I don't remember running into very often at all.
Yeah, I mean, I if anything, I mean, I kind of attribute it to just kind of the desperate times a lot of people are in. I mean, a lot of people are finding themselves in a spot to where they are in a spot where they're homeless, where they never really had to deal with that before, and survival mentality kicks in at that point.
Oh, yeah, and that's where it's like, okay, well, they're being aggressive, but they're not actually like, hey, give me money, or anything that would have really made me like, if I had something like a pepper spray or whatever, like it was never to that point. But it did really kind of point out how much it's changed. Because it's not like I was hanging out downtown right before I moved to Maine, so it feels even more different than what I remembered back in the day. So definite changes. I did get to see something that I do think is kind of interesting. I don't know how well it's running here, but they had the temporary houses, like the kind of tiny home situation in one of the parks. And as much as people can look at that and be like, oh man, that sucks, at the same time, like, is it not worth it to sacrifice a park for a little bit to help people in a really crappy situation? So it's kind of a mixed feeling, because I'm seeing this way that the city that I loved, like I looked forward to moving to Portland, Oregon for a long time before I got here. So it's a little bit depressing to see, you know, that change, but it's also kind of cool because I do overall support programs and projects like that to help people out, because people don't pick houselessness. We've covered that in like the myths of houselessness, homelessness in a old episode that Tim may or may not know. Random background music, it's okay.
Totally professional.
Totally professional podcast. But yeah, like we had talked about like some of the myths and, thinking that they would actually choose that as a lifestyle is kind of one of the more ridiculous myths I've heard.
Yeah, that is definitely. Yeah, I mean, why would anybody choose to do that? I mean, most people in that scenario are trying to do their best to get out of there as quickly as possible. And it in a time like this, it is nice to be able to have the space available, but also cities need to also invest in other things to make it a lot easier for people to get housing.
Exactly, wholeheartedly agree.
All right, so what we are doing here today, since we are live, we are doing another game night here. We have started another game of Scrabble. This is the first time that the Reverend has played Scrabble on the PS4. I'm definitely aware of the game, of course. But right now we are finishing up round 1. The score is 28-36. The Reverend is in the lead.
Yay! I'm learning how to spell today.
Yes, so let's see what word I can do here. Let's see if we can do... Oh, we don't want to do that.
Yes, because it's interesting with all of the words. I've never played Scrabble in this format before, so it's great for Tim to explain. It's like, well, you gotta apply some strategy, and I'm like, oh man, you've grossly overestimated my capacity when I am playing games and chatting. So I was like, I'm gonna make words and make sure I remember how to spell them, because I know I'm one of those people. It's like I had to come up with like phonetic, creative ways to remember how to spell words. Did you do that, or did they actually still know how to teach reading good whenever you were younger? Because I'm of the phonics era, and that was like a little dip for a while, because then it turns out like that didn't really work so hot for everybody. But I definitely remember being taught phonically, and that's something that I still, in a way, am affected by, like as an adult.
No, I was a previous generation with that, so we got taught essentially old school. So what your parents learned is essentially what I learned.
Yeah, it's like I think when I was a kid, phonics to my parents is like Common Core math is to parents now. It's like, why are they teaching it this way?
Yeah, kind of silly. But speaking of time, great segue here. I thought, while we were here, and because the past couple episodes, especially with my birthday, have focused a little bit on nostalgia, and because it shocked the hell out of me too, and it was completely unintentional, the news that Nevermind, Nirvana's classic second album, is 30 years old. Let's talk about some music that came out 30 years ago. So what I've done, I chose 10 albums that really stuck out to me when they came out. Obviously, I was alive and well at that point, 15 years of age, and you were still...
I was 6.
6?
I was getting a handle on my S's.
Okay, so maybe getting past Sesame Street there. I don't know.
I was learning the difference between wolf and woof. That's what I remember when I was a kid. Words I struggled with.
Yeah.
but I was alive, but not listening to a lot of music. No, not back then.
All right, and now you are seeing another fun part about this particular game, and it is a little glitch in the system that sometimes it will make it look like a tile is missing, but you have to kind of do that to see what it's not fun at all.
Technology glitch.
Yeah, thank you, Sony. Thanks a lot.
Sort it out. Get your shit together.
or like Jenna Marbles on YouTube back in the day. Thanks, Obama.
Oh, God, I love Jenna Marbles. I didn't realize you listened to her. She's great. I haven't listened to her in a while, so I did want to preface, like, I don't know what she's up to these days, but I still remember that, at least initially, especially when she started getting, popular and followers and stuff, she has, like, a degree, and I forget what it's in, but I do remember watching her in one of her videos, like, you could get a degree and be super successful in that, and then she's, like, holding her framed degree and, like, fake crying. But she was a funny one. I liked her.
Yeah, I didn't watched too many of her videos, admittedly. The one that really did stick out was the Thanks Obama one, because it was just her talking about, like, my dog just shit on the floor. Thanks, Obama. I just got my fucking period. Thanks, Obama.
Amazing. But anyway, your list.
Yes. My list here. So in no particular order, I got these together. So let's go with the first group here. REM, Out of Time. 30 years ago was the first time we heard the songs Losing My Religion and Shiny Happy People.
Yes, those are songs that exist. I recognize the titles of them. I couldn't sing a single bridge or chorus or anything from them, but I do recognize the names. And I know REM, because I almost got them confused with REO Speedwagon for a second, so don't mind me. Just my non-age is showing there.
You have a lot of alternative rock fans right now kind of pissed at you.
Hey, I recognize they were not the same style of music. It was just a name mix-up. Yeah. Don't judge me. I mean, they're basically the same, right? I mean, same year-ish.
Well, they both use guitars. Yeah, sure. No.
It's an R and it's 3 letters. It's close enough. That'd be the most disappointing concert mix-up ever. Sorry.
It's Aria. No. Anyway, this album here was essentially their second really big hit that got attention on MTV, and really their first one that really blew them mainstream. Like, what I remember them before was their previous album. They did that fun song, Stand. Do you remember that one?
No.
It's like, stand in the place where you live now, face. Yeah.
And it's funny because I think I know that one. They made fun of that on Parks and Rec as well. He used it. And then for me, because I'm younger, I more know this parody from this small artist. You may remember him, but Weird Al Yankovic did it with Spam. And he did a cover of it, or a parody of it. So Spam. I don't remember anything of the words of it other than he just made fun of Spam the entire time.
Okay.
It's like, I don't know the original song you're talking about, Tim, but let me talk about this parody I heard once that I can't tell you shit about.
No, that's the weird thing. Weird Al, like, I feel bad that I don't like him more than I do, because he's the type, he's like a Jeff Foxworthy type of comedian for me. Like, I hear his stuff once, it's great. I don't need to ever hear it again. I
kind of get that.
I mean, to be clear, as a musician, his skills as a musician speak for themselves. But just my taste, I'd rather hear the original.
Sorry, this wouldn't let me play Ying, and I'm calling bullshit. That's totally a word. But anyway, I'll get over it.
Oh, trust me, that's been an argument that's been had here many, many times.
No worries. Yeah, no, but I like him. There is a talent to parody. And it's something that I think I'm decent at, but it makes me realize there's not a lot of parody artists. So it does make me question, is this something that actually takes like its own little realm of talent to do? Because we wrote parodies for when I went to college one time. They would do a performance every year called Master Follies. Mm-hmm. And usually we took songs, none of the music playing, because music instruments are of the devil, according to that school. But, you can a cappella everything, just don't say, sexual words or whatever. And so we would parody anyway, but we'd take popular songs and I would help them do that. So, but other than that, like, I can't think of a lot of people who are really famous for their parody that made it successful like Weird Al did, because it's not like he did other things first. Like, I can't think of anything like a movie or stand-up, or how you can, like, SNL with people who got big in other creative outlets. But he just started doing parodies one day, didn't he? Is that his whole thing?
Yeah, I know he was a big fan of the radio DJ Dr. Demento. He's probably a little before your time, but do you remember him?
That sounds familiar, but I think before my time.
Yeah, you may have heard it, and he was actually on an episode of The Simpsons. He's one of Bart's arch nemesis or something like that. But back in the 80s, Dr. Demento started in radio long before the 80s, but I was aware of him in the 80s because on April Fool's Day, he would always be on there and do like the top 20 like song parody stuff. So it would be stuff like Weird Al, but then also other weird things like Barnes and Barnes fish heads. You know, just wacky, but he was essentially a fan of his in that type of music, and like the silly like one hit wonders like Alan Sherman's "Hello Mother, Hello Father" type of songs.
Okay, yeah.
So there can be more to parody too than just, you know, like I'm going to parody a specific song. You can also do like Frank Zappa at times has done some parodies of disco, but there were original versions of it. It was just parodying that. So
Yeah. What's your next one on your list then?
okay, the next one on my list, an album I did not listen to at the time, but have definitely checked out on multiple occasions since, from Lenny Kravitz, Mama Said.
Oh yes, and I do know Lenny Kravitz, so that one I'm familiar with.
Yeah, the two big tracks on there are Always on the Run, a really, really tight, crunchy rock song that he did with Slash guest starring and doing the guitar solo at the end. So if, like me, you appreciate a good guitar solo, that is good. Good one there. And then the other track, It Ain't Over Till It's Over, a love song. Because the interesting thing about this album is this was right about the time that he was going through his divorce with Lisa Bonet.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm trying to find a right word here. I do have. So yeah, a lot of this album was kind of in response to what was going on at the time, because what happened is Lisa Bonet found out that he cheated on her with Madonna.
Well, I mean, when in Madonna.
Yeah, because in the 90s, do you remember Madonna's song Justify My Love?
No, not off the top of my head.
Well, that would make sense with the Christian family you grew up in,
Well,
because...
I mean, we'll throw that in some hot quotes there. Like, that's a point of actual contention in our house, because I feel like people remember things differently. But no, we weren't sheltered that much. Like, you know, we listened to a lot of secular music in the house, but so that's not really an excuse. It's just more, my mother was more into country.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that was a lot of the background, but I was exposed to a lot of Madonna, but that one I don't remember off the top of my head.
Well, and that would also make sense too, because at the age you were at when that song came out, the video was banned, and they only ended up playing it, I believe, on Nightline of all places, because they talked about it being banned. And that's the thing about that too, is that it got more play by being banned than it did by just releasing it. But they said the video was too risque.
Of course, because that's how that works anyway, right? Like, you say something's a no naughty thing, and then everybody wants that thing even more, especially if they already wanted it before you told them they couldn't have the thing.
Yeah. Okay, I think I got a good word here.
Well, I got all the eyes. I just finally used a stupid eye, and then I got another eye I noticed right before it flipped, so I wouldn't hold out your hopes if you're waiting for an eye.
Glop is a word in Scrabble.
Glop? I guess so.
Whatever works, yeah. So
whatever, okay.
All right, I will go on to the next one here, and we've actually talked about a couple of these songs when we did the Eddie Van Halen tribute album. The tribute episode. It is their album For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. The songs that really stuck out to me on that one are Pound Cake, Run Around, Right Now, probably the most popular track from that album. That's the piano one that they did, and Top of the World. But yeah, Van Halen, what do you think?
Van Halen is a band. Haven't spent a lot of time listening to Van Halen. See, we run into this with music with me, though. Mm-hmm. And it's just because of that. Like, I didn't listen to a lot of variety of music. Now, I kind of got better there for a little while. And then I started listening to weird shit like Esperanto and Postmodern Jukebox. And, like, I haven't moved on from that phase in my life yet.
Music is music, though.
But I know Van Halen. Like, I would assume Van Halen has been played in the background of my life, like, on more than one occasion. And I probably had no idea that I was listening to a Van Halen song. Like, I don't know if he's grocery store material, but I wouldn't be shocked either, because cleaned versions of things.
I mean, right now, the song right now I've definitely heard that in a grocery store. I mean, but granted, a lot of grocery stores these days have switched from Muzak to just playing regular songs.
True. I mean, it's also, they used to play oldies. Like, it was Muzak and then oldies. Like, when I was a kid, it was oldies. And now it's like I'm realizing, oh, NSYNC. And I'm like, oh, shit, that's the new oldies. You know, like, it's just that I'm getting older.
Well, imagine me with this list here 30 freaking years ago. This list is slightly older than you.
Only slightly.
Yeah. But again, Van Halen this was during the era where Sammy Hagar was in the band. And even though fans are kind of split on which version of the band they liked, a lot of David Lee Roth fans that I've heard, you know, do generally say that this is probably the one Sammy Hagar album that they like with Van Halen.
Nice.
Definitely rocks. But we'll move on to the next one here. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Into the Great Wide Open was released in 1991. The two big hits off of there were Learning to Fly and obviously the title track, Into the Great Wide Open.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
I think at this point it's almost funnier that I don't know what to say about music.
He's a person.
Than me actually having like input on songs, so I'm sorry if this is annoying to anybody, but I am thoroughly amused.
Somebody is no kidding. But yeah, Tom Petty is one of those weird outliers because, you know, like in the 70s, he was making music that wasn't necessarily what was really big at the time, because that was like the big bands were like Zeppelin, Aerosmith, and whatnot. And, you know, Tom Petty came under the radar but made some really solid hits. And then in the 80s, when MTV came along, Tom Petty has a great face for radio. Let's put it that way.
Oh, nice. Is he the original Garrison Keillor?
No, but having said that, though, he showed more than anything, you know, that even despite the looks, you know, personality wins over any time, because, you know, when you see Tom Petty, you get his vibe instantly just by his picture. And then these songs, I mean, Into the Great Wide Open is a great song to be listening to when you're driving down the road on a summer day.
Okay, that probably makes sense. Mm-hmm. Lots of good cruising music is when I think of like older songs. Like, I don't think of a lot of good songs nowadays I'd want to cruise to. It just doesn't really seem to be the pastime that's in the background, right? Like, I don't think people are as into road trips in that kind of situation. Like, now people like fly more places. More people fly than used to. But I just, the random crazy digression of mine is just like, I just don't think that they make the kind of cruising music anymore, possibly because people don't view driving as like a relaxing thing to do anymore.
Definitely, I would agree with that somewhat. Yeah, I mean, I think I would. I don't know if I would necessarily. I think there are enough people that do. I mean, I certainly love road trips, and you know, I'm a misanthropic recluse. You know, road trips are nice.
That's true. At least when you're road tripping in the car, the whole concept is that you're looking out of your safety bubble and just enjoying things as you pass. You don't have to get out or interact with anybody if you don't want to.
But even then, even if we were talking about creating a playlist for a cross country flight, I mean, I could imagine no better feeling than listening to Into the Great Wide Open while looking out over 30,000 feet. You know,
where would you go on your imaginary road trip?
My imaginary road trip, I don't know. I mean, I probably like the big places like your Los Angeleses or New York's, places like that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a boring guy.
Well, you just said you like road trips. I thought it would give a you digression to talk about something you'd like to go on.
Well, the best road trips I found have been the ones to where you're driving to like hole-in-the-wall places.
Mm-hmm. Oh, super fun, yeah. Back in Texas, there's a place, that does the Dublin Dr. Pepper.
Mm-hmm.
And I still remember going with my friend in her old little frickin' Volkswagen Beetle and like drove down there and the whole thing with Dublin Dr. Pepper is it's made with real sugar. So it's not, any of it's kind of like getting Mexican Coca-Cola.
Nice.
If you ever heard of that being the thing because it's real cane sugar, that's kind of the same thing with Dublin Dr. Pepper. And it's the only kind of Dr. Pepper that I actually enjoy drinking. Mm-hmm. So fun fact out there for anybody who either thinks you hate Dr. Pepper or think you love it, there might be a better version out there that you were unaware of until today. So hopefully I bestowed some stupid trivia on somebody.
And we just shilled for Dr. Pepper. Maybe they will be our next sponsor. Who knows?
Oh, please send me Dublin. Dear Dublin Dr. Pepper, if you have heard of our podcast, like, first of all, that's really fucking cool. But secondly, send me stuff because it's delicious and there's nowhere for me to get it in Maine or Oregon. Like, I'm pretty sure that's just down in Texas. I think that might be the only place you can get it in the States.
Yeah, there are definitely regional sodas. Like the big regional soda back in Michigan is Faygo.
Well, it goes back to, I think I don't remember if I talked about this on the show, but discovering that there was a soda in Maine called Moxie. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because my partner, so the Mr. Reverend, really does enjoy like sarsaparilla and stuff like that. And it's like, that one's, I know, he's an old soul at heart. We both realized that we probably existed in the 20s together in some past life. But yeah, so he likes that and it's something I've ever been a fan of. But there's this soda called Moxie soda. And it's one of those that came from kind of like the Coca-Cola type thing where it was a tonic that they were trying to make a medicinal tonic. So just like Coca-Cola, Dr. Pepper started that way too. Yeah. Moxie's one of those similar ones. So it's kind of that, sarsaparilla-y, licorice-y almost like... I don't want to say it tastes like medicine, but like there's that kind of taste to those sodas that started out that way. The cola flavor, I guess, is what you can say. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Moxie, I dig it. If you've ever had the chance to try it, I almost wish I could have figured out how to smuggle some, but there's no way that would have worked. Like that would have exploded in my bag and.
Whoops.
I should have checked the airport though. Now that I think about it, I could have checked there and then maybe taken it on the flight with me, but I didn't. So here we are, and you don't get to try the soda that I'm talking about.
Well, there's always the post office, but then I'd probably receive it like 6 months later. And
oh, gosh, 6 months later, it'll have a hole in it, and all the Moxie will be spilled out into the box. But, you can lick the box. I guess that would work.
There you go. Well, speaking of licking the box, we'll move on to the next music choice here. It's better.
Licking the box. It sounds like this just took a turn.
No. I don't know why I made that segue there. The next one here is Metallica, the Black Album. 30 years ago today, we heard Enter Sandman for the first time. Sad but True, The Unforgiven, Wherever I May Roam. The album where folks say they officially sold out.
That's always a good one to admit that you like, because there's going to be that separation in fans of that's like shame you for liking that album. Like, how dare you? Is it one of those?
Yeah, because Metallica before this, they were more melodic, I guess, even though they were very fast, they did a lot of intricate stuff, whereas on this album, this is the first one where it was more of a down to basics traditional rock, and that kind of threw their fans. So it wasn't the speed metal of years previous, but there was another song that I didn't put on my favorites here, but Nothing Else Matters, Metallica's first ballad.
Oh, Metallica. So that one I'm more familiar with because that's getting into my age group, because, that was some of that's the devil's music that we got in school and in church. But yes, so of course it was forbidden. So of course we wanted to listen to it. I know something that really my brother has even picked on me about is how bad I am at remembering song names and titles and stuff. But I do know for a fact that we had some hidden Metallica albums in our CDs that were probably labeled as In Sync or something. It was the only way to get our mother to not find them and throw them out. So, because she wasn't against NSYNC because they didn't have any messages in their songs. Like, it was before a lot of the pop songs got more sexual. So, NSYNC, little crowd pleasing, mom pleasing boy band. Okay, you guys can listen to that. I don't want to listen to their songs though, because she couldn't stand it. She liked country. But so we just labeled stuff like Backstreet Boys and Boys to Men and stuff like that, and it was really Metallica, Insane Clown Posse.
Well, speaking of that is actually a good segue to the next artist here, Ozzy Osbourne. No More Tears, Ozzy's best solo album, was released 30 years ago, and Ozzy, for me, was that artist that my mother absolutely hated me listening to, because I don't know, I guess he just scared her. It's like, he's with the devil.
Oh, gosh, yeah. He's another one that is that name from Texas. Like, he worships the devil.
Yeah,
wasn't he the one that they thought that it said Satan backwards? Like, was he one of those that they thought if you played his music in reverse, it would like have satanic shit in Latin or whatever?
Backmasking, yeah. They claimed that the song "Suicide Solution," if you played it backwards, encouraged people to commit suicide, even though there is no basis whatsoever that backmasking actually works or really exists, because I went to a Christian high school, and they had a whole Christian, Bible class, and they had a video on that, and they were talking about it, and it was just what the trick that they tried to do in school, though, is that they will tell you first what to listen for, and then you hear it. Oh, yeah. Whereas if you had just heard it, played backwards, normally it would be, maybe you would hear something, but, it would just be gibberish, because it is gibberish.
It's total gibberish. But yeah, like the far reach is like, well, in Latin, this sounds like they're saying this, and this. And yeah. I do recall a little bit of that. But what's funny is there was all of that worry about like that backtracking or whatever, that there's no science actually proving that it does too much. But, one of the things I've nerded out about before is, we listen to music all the time that possibly has like some messages to it that aren't the greatest, and that's just played forwards, and we're totally fine with listening to that. So it does kind of crack me up when I think of those things. But to be fair, half of the people that we're talking about, like the stuff in backwards, were mostly listening to praise music. So I guess that's not the example for that demographic. But there are some people who worried about, it's like, but wait a second, you're listening to this one that's like basically talking about like having an obsessive relationship with somebody, and that's okay. Like
or the people that think Amy Grant is too hardcore. I mean, I don't know.
Think who?
Amy Grant, the Christian singer Amy Grant.
Oh, Amy Grant. I knew that sounded familiar.
Yeah.
Because Amy Grant. Why is that such a name? Because I don't think I ever listened to her. But anyway, you're obviously referencing something I'm out of the loop on.
I don't know. She was a popular name, and my sister liked her for a brief period in the 80s. Just if a glass of milk could sing, it would be Amy Grant.
A glass of milk could sing.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, my enjoyment of it is subjective. I'm not a fan, let's put it that way, as far as her abilities as a singer. She's sold many, many albums, so that goes. I'm going to be fair. But speaking of Ozzy here, the No More Tears album had 3 of my favorite tracks. Mama, I'm Coming Home, a nice ballad, lovely ballad, co-written by Lemmy from Motorhead. That shocked me when I found that out. The amazing No More Tears, it's like a 7-minute song, but it has one of my favorite guitar solos from Zakk Wylde, the lead guitar player at the time for Ozzy. And then another ballad, Road to Nowhere. Ozzy, for most people don't realize, he's good at ballads and like love songs.
Oh, okay, yeah. Ozzy. I mean, I'm just going to assume I wasn't actually exposed to like the range of his talents like naturally, but I don't know, he's a big enough name. I don't really have an excuse. Like maybe I should go and figure out. Oh, is it my turn or yours?
No, it is my turn right now. I'm trying to see what I can.
I still have all of the eyes.
Good luck.
Like running out of places to play because eyes. I.
And that is the bad part about this game sometimes. Sometimes you can get into like a huge lead to start and then end with all vowels.
Yep. It's like, thanks, Scrabble gods. I understand you hate me now.
Okay. And to update people, we are actually in round 12 right now. The score is 143 for myself and 161 for the Reverend.
Woohoo! I don't suck at this game.
All right, the next album here, it's technically 2 albums, but it was meant to be a double album, but they split it up to be a cost-effective measure for fans. Guns N' Roses, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2.
Guns N' Roses also sounds familiar. Lay it on me.
Yes. Some of my favorite tracks on there are they had two different versions of one song, Don't Cry, but both of those are really good. Like, Don't You Cry Tonight, really good. A nice little fast-paced song, Garden of Eden. Yesterday's a little ballad that I really dig from them. And then the song from Terminator 2, Judgment Day, You Could Be Mine.
I'm trying to remember how to spell sieve right now.
And that's where we're at in the game.
Well, it just gave me something different to say than about that band.
Yeah. But yeah, this is their last big hurrah. After this, thanks to drug problems and just fighting amongst the band, Guns N' Roses never officially split up, but some of the core members left thereafter. But Appetite for Destruction and Use Your Illusion are definitely, if you're going to have like a top 20 greatest rock albums of all time, at the very least, Appetite for Destruction is going to be on there. And I think we reviewed that on the show.
Yeah, I think we did too. Because I was like, that's right. You did get me to listen to Guns N' Roses at one point.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, we listened to Appetite for Destruction. But so let's move on to the next one here. The next band here is fronted by a man born in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It's the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic. And songs like Breaking the Girl, Suck My Kiss, Give It Away, and probably their biggest hit, Under the Bridge.
I know Red Hot Chili Peppers, but I basically know, Give It Away, or whatever that one was called. And I did love, I think, my only other thing that I can think of when I think of Red Hot Chili Peppers is the joke in The Good Place, because they're at this point where they're giving them tests to supposedly figure out if they really belong in the good place or not. Mm-hmm. And one of them is he's got this little spiel, have you ever paid to see blah, 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 the band, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, live in concert? And, one of them's oh, yeah, man, I've paid to see them here and here. And apparently, if you had, that was, a mark that you were supposed to go to the bad place. So I did really appreciate the joke.
Oh, man.
So that's all I know about Red Hot Chili Peppers, guys. So this is what this episode's turning into, is Tim actually talking sensibly about some bands, and the Reverend Tracy talking about what she thinks of, or what he thinks of when they hear.
I did a thing once.
It's I heard that name before.
Yeah, this is the first time I really became aware of them. They're honestly, again, their first really big album. They've done plenty of albums beforehand, but yeah, I think I mentioned this story on the show before, but I had a friend back in Grand Rapids that used to work at a car wash in Lowell, Michigan. That's a suburb about maybe 20 minutes outside of Grand Rapids or something like that. And an older gentleman came up in a vehicle, and the guy had a suit and tie, looked like an accountant and everything, but had a Red Hot Chili Pepper sticker on his car. And my friend came up and goes, "You're a fan of the Red Hot Chili Peppers?" He goes, "I'm not only a fan, the lead singer's my son."
Oh, yeah, you told me about that one before, I think. That sounds like a familiar story.
Yeah. So, I mean, their career speaks for itself. Admittedly, I'm not their biggest fan. I would put them in the category of a greatest hits band. If Give It Away's on, I'm going to listen because it's fun, but I'm not going to go listen to a B-side or buy a live album or anything like that.
Concentrating, trying to figure out where the hell I can play.
Yes.
That's the only problem with doing a game, is I want to get into the game.
Yeah. And yeah, that is the tough part about doing Scrabble here, especially when you got someone like me. My turns are always boom boom done, and then
I feel all self-conscious because I have to think, spelling work, brains, copies.
Well, let's move. While you are concentrating, we will move on to the next album here. And on the birthday show, we talked about this a lot, but never mind. From Nirvana. Probably the last great rock and roll album ever.
What was that again? What by Nirvana?
Nevermind.
Oh, Nevermind by Nirvana.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a song.
It is not a song, actually. It's the name of It's the name of an album. It's a lyric in "Smells Like Teen Spirit," but this is the album where "Smells Like Teen Spirit" came from.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that one I'm getting much more familiar with those, because I remember listening to "Smells Like Teen Spirit," and then again that also goes into, isn't that the one that they sound really garbled in the beginning? Because I want to say Weird Al even like took them on with "Oh, there's marbles in my mouth." Was that one? Okay.
Yeah. It was "Smells Like Nirvana."
Smells Like Nirvana. That's right.
Yeah, this is becoming a Weird Al tribute show here.
Well, I mean, it's if you're gonna make me react to the names of songs and albums, and I don't know them, I'm gonna reach for something. So I'm not just like, "Yup," and then sitting here and struggling with Scrabble.
Well, the funny part, funny that you bring that up, because the story behind how he was able to get that, because Weird Al has a policy of, if he does a direct song parody of somebody's song, he wants to get their permission. Legally, he does not have to.
Right,
but
it's parody. It's covered under creative contracts. For anybody that didn't know, like, that's why parody is easy. That's why commercials do parodies sometimes, actually, is they don't have to ask for permission. And then if they can get the original artist in it, even better. Look at like the Super Bowl commercial with "It Wasn't Me." And then they actually got what's his name to show up for it. But it was really weird because my stepkids came in totally singing something that sounded a lot like "It Wasn't Me," and I was like, "What are you listening to?" It's just the parody. But yeah, so parody is covered. I respected that about him, though. Like, that was a fun fact about him, and I think that's why sometimes he works with them in those situations. Sometimes.
Yeah, and then I mean that's why, even at the end of the day, even though I'm not a big fan, I have the ultimate respect for him, because he respects the people that he parodies. It's not meant to mock. But what happened was, he was friends with Victoria Jackson, who I guess was in this movie UHF, and they had interacted in Los Angeles. But at the time, she worked on Saturday Night Live, and when Nirvana was a musical guest on Saturday Night Live, he called her up and was like, "Can you connect me with Nirvana so I can ask their permission?" And she got Kurt Cobain on the phone, and Weird Al asked permission, and he said, and apparently Kurt was like, "Yes, but you can't make the song about food."
Oh, that's awesome. So he had to do anything but food. So instead he just kind of picked fun at the band.
Pretty well, yeah, lighthearted pick fun. I mean,
that's why I say picking fun, not like making fun. I don't know. To me, there's a little bit of a difference there, but I think that's Southern terminology. You're just picking versus versus bullying or whatever. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, but virtually this whole album. I mean, like I said on the birthday show, I'm not the biggest Nirvana fan in the world, but there's a reason this album has lasted for as long as it did. I mean, it's from first track to last, probably one of the best albums ever. So you really, honestly, you just cannot go wrong listening to the album, period. So let's see what I can write now.
Yeah, I tried so hard to use an I, and I just used everything but eyes. I'm like, I'm gonna have nothing but freaking eyes here in a minute.
Yeah, and the bad part about the game too is that late in the game you don't want to get stuck with letters like J.
Haha.
Yeah, so
as it glows.
Oh.
Right,
Jug Band, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and the last album I wanted to bring up here is from a band called U2. Octone Baby was released 30 years ago. The big tracks off of that are Even Better Than the Real Thing, One, Mysterious Ways. Another track I like is Zoo Station, the opening track, but this is their first kind of breakaway into like dance music, or just something more than the roots music they had been known before this, thanks to stuff like the Joshua Tree and whatnot. They did it.
They did it. That's a thing that person did.
Yeah. But
in other words, I don't have any stupid Weird Al trivia for that one, guys. So if you're disappointed in that one, but hey, if you have Weird Al trivia about this song, let us know on our webpage.
But no, this does remind me of the South Park episode, though, that had Bono on it. Do you remember that one?
Was that an earlier? Because I haven't watched South Park in a long, long time. But I did see a lot of South Park before I stopped watching it. But they're still going, are they not?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
they got...
I know there was like some drama with Matt Stone and Trey Parker there for a little bit. But not like between the two of them, but something to do with South Park. But they just have still been going.
Yeah, they recently signed a massive deal with Paramount to extend the show, I believe, to the 30th season. But they're also going to be coming out with original movies, South Park movies, that are going to be on Paramount Plus.
Oh, awesome. So they're just going to just continue into that universe.
Yeah, because I mean, ultimately, the reason it's gone on for this long. I mean, the shows that last this long because they found ways to make more money than they spent. It is show business, and how they do the show with the 6, because each episode is only done 6 days. Like the previous 6 days before that, they had the idea for it, they wrote the script, they animated it, voiced it, all in 6 days.
Okay.
So yeah. Oh boy, what was I talking
about? That's awesome. Let's go back to your song. Maybe. Oh, we were talking about South Park. And,
South Park. No. Anyway, that's how they've been able to stay on for as long as they have. How they do it essentially just saves a lot of money. But the episode I was referring to was the one where Randy takes a big shit and tries to get the Guinness Book of World Records for the biggest shit, but then Bono comes.
Oh, yes. And they're talking about how Bono is the biggest shit.
Yeah.
Or whatever, because it's like no matter what he does, he just always seems like a big shit. Like, I think that's like what Stan had said. Like, this explains so much, because like no matter all the good things Bono does, he just always seems like a giant piece of shit. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, okay. It's like that was the punchline. Okay.
Yeah.
So apparently I've seen that one.
Yes, short-term, what is it, long-term memory loss or short-term memory?
No, we're not even going to get into what the fuck's wrong with my brain, guys. That would be too many episodes on its own.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've had at least 100 so far.
If you guys haven't put it together yet, I can put you in touch with a good therapist that can explain the rest of it for you.
Well, like I said, that is 10 albums from 1991. I mean, a lot of people... I don't know if I would necessarily say that this year would be the best year in music, but I think it has an argument to be in the top 5, especially for the addition of Nevermind for Nirvana, just for what Nirvana, did for music, period, not just for rock.
Yes, Nirvana. That's
yes.
A band.
Anyway, the score here in round 13 is 154 to 182. There are 10 tiles left in the bag here. This is crunch time. This is the time to where you want to strategize and save the right letters for the right word combination to give that killing blow.
Yep. So this is where I'm going to start losing. Because, see, I'm doing great, but I'm not what you would call a strategic game player. I just do my best and match the tiles and be like, yay, that is how you spell that.
Yay, words.
Yay, words and shit.
So now that you're back in town for the haunt, give folks a little preview of what they might expect.
Oh, man. So we do have our themes up and going. I'm just finally playing a fucking word so I can move on. I've got eyes I'm going to deal with later, but that'll be future Tracy's problem. But anywho, we do have our themes up and everything, and I think something that's going to be nice this season compared to last season's is, Fearlandia has always tried to run 2 haunts. Mm-hmm. And it's caused confusion in the past when people come through and they're like, hey, there was only one haunt, because it flows from one to the other, so that you don't have to go into another line. But they're actually going to have it separated this time just to help really clearly define there's 3 haunts. And the first one is Fear's Gate. We're going a little bit warehouse, creepy hijinks going on, and potentially some mutated lab situations in the later halls, not to give too many spoilers. Okay. That one is actually the Fearlandian haunt. So the way that they're kind of doing it is the Underhill is the big haunt. They have had the Veterans Memorial Coliseum for the past handful of years. So they're the feature, but we're more like starting them off. Like we're the starting act. So they're kind of doing it in that sense of how they would, if a comedian has a starting act to the headliner, or if a band has a starting act to them being the headliner. So they're the headliner, we're kind of starting act. So that's the first one, is Fearlandia's. So that'll be interesting. Lots of great set play, because that's what we do. Mm-hmm. Lots of cool things being built, and knobs and like electrical noises and things like that going on. The second feature, the second event is called Night Terrors. And it is essentially going through where almost each room is a little bit to that tune of like a night terror theme. So you'll have things in there from, the butchering doctor to, there's so many people who come unglued with clowns that there's no way that you can't include clowns in that situation. Right. So sorry guys, if clowns are the one thing you don't do, you may need to ask to skip the middle haunt. But that's what's nice with how it's set up, because that does give that as a possibility. When I worked the front room the last year we did clowns, I legitimately had people that didn't even make it into my room. They saw pictures of clowns and said, fuck this, I'm not doing it, you can't make me. And then usually one of our people would try to catch them and fold them in like halfway through the haunt so that they don't have to face that. So all sorts of things going on in there and things to go bump in the night. And then the final one is the Underhill Manor, I think is what they're calling it. Mm-hmm. And it really is kind of stunning what they're building in there so far. It very much is, you've got a huge chapel scene that you're walking into, and you're hit with this beautiful organ and stained glass window and a brick facade. And then you go through and there's like a study and other little scenes in there that are being very well put together. And for what I understand, possibly some secret passages and things to get lost in. So that'll add an element of disorientation. If that is your bag, definitely welcome you guys to come out. We do have some people on stilts as well. I don't want to give too many spoilers, but I got a cool recording, and if they say that it's okay to share it, I might share it. But other than that, I'm trying not to share too many things publicly, unless it's coming from the Haunted House website, because they have already decided they're fine with that being public. Because that's the tricky thing, is you do want to advertise what you've got going on, but you don't want to give everything away, because a lot of people, it'll turn into, well, if you gave off the best scare, then what's the point in coming? Right. It's kind of like when movies give you all of the funny parts in the commercial, in the trailer for it, and then you get to the movie and you think it's going to be this fucking hilarious movie, and then it's like, oh, well, they're okay. So all of the parts that were funny made it into the trailer. That's it. That's all you got for funny, haha.
The worst movie trailer I think I've ever seen that has been guilty of that, believe it or not, was Titanic.
Really? I've got one for that one, but go on Titanic first.
Titanic, that trailer, the original 2-minute or so movie trailer, tells the entire story of the movie. It tells the entire story of the movie.
Well, I mean, to be fair, though, that one's like a history flick. So I think those are the ones that kind of get away with it a little. But they did give away some of their creative twists and turns. Yeah, I mean,
and obviously, and I am not, for the people at home, I'm not referring to the whole thing that Titanic hitting the iceberg. You know that coming in, because to your point, yes, it is a historic thing.
It's kind of based on true events. Hate to spoil that one for you if you haven't seen that gem yet.
Yeah, but I just really didn't like it, because, one, it does tell how good that editor is, because they were able to, tell a concise story of a 3-hour movie in that 2 minutes or so there. But I would have liked to have... Oh, you saw it.
Oh, yes, I did. I finally... You didn't want me to put that together, did you?
No, I was going to recommend something else.
39 points, baby. I might have a chance after all, folks. Clap if you believe in the Reverend.
Yeah.
Well, it won't matter. This game will be over by the time it comes out. Sorry. That was delicious. I didn't mean to interrupt your thought. But anyway, so anything else on the Titanic thing before because I had one that was guilty of making it sound like a hilarious movie, and it wasn't.
No, that was just my big complaint on.
Yeah, yes. So they just gave away everything. The one that I think of, and it's not just my opinion, I remember a lot of people being very upset by this. The Truman Show. When, oh God, what's his name?
Jim Carrey.
Thank you so much. I know that man because I actually kind of appreciate him. I know he's got like some issues with his past, but who he is now seems interesting to me. But Jim Carrey, and it was right when he started really flexing, trying to play serious roles, probably because Robin Williams had been doing so successfully at it. Like, I feel like it was around that time. But yeah, like, The Truman Show, we thought it was going to be funny because it showed, like, his ass, like, backwards, and he's like, how you doing, neighbors? And being his goofy Jim Carrey ass self. Yeah. And then you go and you watch this movie, and I was younger at the time, so I was expecting, The Mask and Liar Liar and that kind of, like, stuff from him, because that's what I was used to.
And that's the exact opposite of what he wanted.
Flop. Oh, yeah, it was exact opposite of what they wanted for that movie.
I'm going to disagree with you there. It wasn't a flop per se. It may not have blown up the box office, but I will say this without looking at the internet in terms of its box office and whatnot, it has more than made up its money over time. People have gravitated towards that movie and see it for the good movie that it is. Director Peter Weir's reputation stands for itself. He did Dead Poets Society.
Okay, yeah, I like Dead Poets, but then again, Dead Poets Society, who was playing a serious role in there? That was
Robin Williams.
Yeah, Robin Williams. So, and that's funny because I wonder if that was what he was going for, is almost like pulling these comedians and putting them in different roles. But I remember it being a flop in the sense of, if you were a comedy fan, you were more likely to go see that movie. And, because that's the thing, is you should advertise what a movie is. There are people who love comedy that fucking hate drama like that. So what they did is they got a bunch of people who love comedy, love Jim Carrey's slapstick style, loved him from SNL or wherever it is they fell for him, went to go see that, with the commercials also making it sound funny.
Yeah.
Because, hey, Dead Poets Society, I don't feel like they made that sound like a funny movie. They didn't make 1 Hour Photo seem like a funny movie. But it was just an interesting thing that they did with the trailer of that one specific one that I'm like, yeah, I could see that really irritating some people. To the tune that I remember it being talked about by people, how disappointed they were.
I definitely do remember that for that movie because it's a big thing in Hollywood. Studios get scared. With the amount of money movies cost, they want to hedge their bets as much as possible. And more than likely, it was just a studio executive thinking that, oh no, we got to get in as many people as we can. We just don't know. So,
if we get their butts in the seats, they will see that they love this side of Jim Carrey's expansive variety that he can give us in acting. And I'm like, no, comedy people just want to laugh at fart jokes sometimes.
I would disagree with that, though. More than likely that move, trying to market it as a comedy that it wasn't, tells me that a studio executive got scared and didn't think it was going to be a hit on its own. So they tried to just get people in under false pretenses.
Yeah, and see, that's what I was saying, is that's where you justify it, though, right? Like, well, we are kind of falsely advertising this, but, they'll see the prize that is this movie, which, no offense, but Truman Show I wouldn't put up there. I mean, it was an interesting concept, and it was kind of cool to watch, but I wouldn't put it up there as like an iconic movie that if I found out somebody had never seen it, that I would like just feel the urge to make it happen for them. It's not one of those.
No, it's not. Yeah, I mean, it is an interesting movie. It's one of those things that, like, if you're at a dentist office and you got an hour wait for the dentist and they have TNT on and the Truman Show's playing, you're not going to mind watching it.
Right. Like, I used to, actually, that did come on one time when I was donating plasma back in the day. Like, it was one of those movies that came up.
Okay, since we are reaching the 1 hour recording limit on Anchor here, what we are going to do is, for you folks at home, give you a quick musical interlude, so hang tight. And welcome back, everybody, as the Reverend fires up the bomb.
Yes, because, when in Portland.
Yes, so we are back here. We have a score of 202 for myself and 248 for the Reverend. I have 3 tiles remaining. The Reverend has 4. We're at the point. It's possible for a comeback, but it would have to be a Hail Mary at this point, if I am being honest.
Yes, and Tim was being so honest a moment ago. I had to share the level of sportsmanship here that he was going to offer to help me get rid of that Q that I couldn't find a space for, just in case I really didn't want to play, that triple letter score with a Q on it. Like,
no, the exchange no, you had the ability to exchange, but what would happen is the tiles you chose would go back into the bag, and then
right,
randomly.
Because then maybe you could get them. So
yeah, theoretically, but you could also get it back at some point.
You could. That's true. Yeah. No, I am okay. I don't know bands from 30 years ago, but Scrabble, that one I do kind of get. Because at least that's the same with it. To me, the weird part was being able to see each other's letters. But, like, I don't remember what the fuck you had. And I think the only reason you probably remembered my eyes is because I'm bitching about all the eyes. But I got rid of the eyes. For anybody that clapped at that moment, just know it went back in time and it helped me. So thank you for believing in the Reverend today. I will turn it over to Tim to continue the next part of this conversation.
Yes. All right, and we'll see what word you come up with here.
Yeah,
But
I gotta figure out how to spell, but I've got, I got some vowels and I got a little B friend over there. So
yeah.
at this point, it's really just where can it go? Jugga.
Have you been enjoying the rainy weather?
No. I was actually really surprised. Like, it just seemed to, like, when I landed, it was kind of warm. And then suddenly it's like, oh yeah, it does get cold here. Got it. Like,
you did that too. Like in 2011, when my mother passed away, I flew from Sacramento in February to Grand Rapids, and didn't bring a coat.
Oh man, I at least brought like a rain slicker thing. That was a weird thing. I don't know. I just hit a button, but it was crazy. But anyway, I actually bought like a rain shell, and then I forgot it. And my host family, as I call them, they had an umbrella in their car. So at least there was that. But I did also remember how unfriendly umbrellas can be in Oregon anytime the wind picks up in the slightest. So a little bit of that there. But, now I'm remembering, like, oh, I should just, like, have my rain shell with me. That's just something I should plan on having all the time.
Yeah, and Ebe should definitely be...
Oh, you're stuck with 2 E's? Shit.
Yeah. And you got one of the...
Oh, there you go. Right there.
Yeah, but...
See, this is the problem with me, is I'll accidentally help. I know, because now I'm going to be able to play that one, and then it'll be over, right?
Yeah, the Hail Mary is done.
If I
toast.
find a place to put it. So go ahead and talk while I end this game.
Yeah, just... it's the sword in the base of the skull.
It's an A, so guys, like, this is done. Like, it's not a stupid I where...
Yeah, but watch you still get like a double or triple word score off of it. Just one of the... This is her bowling for soup moment, folks.
Is a jet a word? Nope.
No. Any words, Professor?
Well, this is a very interesting game. I wish the audience could, the listeners could see. I thought maybe Bon was a word with 2 A's.
Bon?
Bon.
Nope.
In the German Scrabble, yeah.
Yeah, the German.
German Scrabble
Is super.
In German Scrabble, you put...
Didn't you have a chance to do ab somewhere? Wasn't there a B you could put that A on?
Oh, this might actually work. No, sa is not.
Seesaw. No.
Seesaw.
Yeah, right. The A above bone.
The A above. Oh, yeah, because ab, and then we can just be done. Okay. I don't need to find the best one. I don't need to slaughter you. You're right.
No, you've already done... No, because look what happens, too. Any tiles that you have left over get deducted from you and added to the winner. And, of course, it had to be 3 points, so there we go.
Yay. I done good, guys. IR Scrabble.
Real good. You did real good.
IR Scrabble champion.
People just love beating me in this
She's
place.
the champion.
My friends.
Well, that does it, I think, for another episode. Is Fearlandia still looking for volunteers?
Oh, yes. Fearlandia is probably going to look for volunteers for Fearlandia and the Underhill, because I can't express enough, this is a 2-haunt situation, and we are definitely down to bring more people to play in the halls, because what's great about it at this point is we're accepting those volunteers, and that's you sign up paperwork, they do a background check, and you can come on site. So if you do think that haunt work is something that you'd be interested in doing, this is a great way to get your foot in the door. And just to put it out there again, you can email me at fairlandiacasting@gmail.com and slip a note in there that you heard about it from the show, mostly just because I would be curious if it was a fan that actually applied. I didn't tell anybody to mention it before, but I haven't gotten anything, I don't think.
Yes. Yeah, this whole thing of engagement. We're supposed to engage with these people that we're going into their homes every single week. But yes, if you are DTH, down to haunt, then email the Reverend here. And so I think that will wrap it up. Any other closing thoughts?
I did good with words today, guys, so there's hope that I won't ask a stupid question next time I go to the grocery store where the answer is like literally above my head. Like, where's the bathroom? And it says restrooms and an arrow. Yeah. I'm learning letters, and that's what's important, and how to put them in order to make sense of them. So thank you, Tim, for taking me through letters today.
I mean, that reminds me of that bit from Clerks, like the whole montage of, what do you mean you have no ice? I got to drink this coffee hot? Those people exist.
Oh, yes. I am accidentally that human so many times. And I almost always cut a joke about it, though. I think that's honestly what some of our service people, like people that work in customer service jobs, they could use a joke. So even if you're bad at them, just make a joke of it if you've asked a horrifyingly dumb, obvious question, like I am an expert in.
Yeah. And I mean, you've all heard that here for over 4 years, folks.
Yes, I don't know. There's no gender-neutral royalty term, so I still accept queen, but I feel like sometimes I am the queen of foot and mouth.
There you... On that note.
Let's end the show on that cheery, awesome note.
Tune in again next week. Remember, folks, every Wednesday and Saturday, we will have something to entertain your ear holes in this podcast space. Thank you all for listening. We bid you adieu.
Goodbye.
Subscribe to Friends Talking Nerdy on iTunes, the Google Play Music Store, as well as Spotify. Remember to support Friends Talking Nerdy on Patreon. Goodbye, darling.